Hello, my name is Carter Kirchhevel, and I have a show called Catching Up with Carter on Thursdays from 10 to 11 a.m. on Saddleback College Radio 88.5 HD2. Check out and subscribe down below if you'd like to see more recordings of this show and to see my NFL and college football takes.
Did you miss your football games this week? Do you need to catch up? Welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio. Thursdays at 10, he will recap it all.
Hello and welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio 88.5 HD2. We have a very special show for you all. Sorry, last week I was not in the studio. Ended up actually getting pneumonia last week. Thankfully, I am back. I'm here. I had pneumonia like Deebo Samuel, as we're going to talk about today. And so we're going to talk all about Los Angeles sports. As you know, welcome to Catching Up with Carter. We recap all LA sports. We'll cover the Rams, Chargers, Raiders, and 49ers games. And for college, we'll cover USC, UCLA, and of course, Saddleback College football. You just listen to I Must Apologize by Pink Panthers. We're going to listen to Back on 74 by Jungle, and we're going to get right into our football segment. We're doing it a little bit different this time. I'll catch you back up right there with all of our NFL recap in just a minute after we listen to this song. Thank you so much for listening again. Here's 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio, Catching Up with Carter.
Chargers, 49ers, Raiders, USC, UCLA, and of course, Saddleback football. He covers it all. It's Carter Kirchhevel, your Saddleback student sports voice.
Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2, and we are going to get right into our NFL recap. We were just listening to Back on 74 by Jungle, one of my favorite songs, and we're going to get right into our NFL recap with the Rams. But before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about a cool experience that I had going to SoFi Stadium. Went to SoFi, great stadium by the way. You can really sit anywhere in that stadium. You can pay $50, sit at the very top. You can spend $1,000 and stand on the field, and really you're going to get a good experience either way. And so for myself, I actually had a great experience. I went to the game, and my dad, he's a great dad. I just wanted to say that on the air, but really he brought me to this game, and he had tickets that got us onto the field and held the flag at the beginning of the game. Very, very cool experience. If you ever have the chance to go on SoFi Field, very, very cool field. But we're going to get right into it with the Rams. Now, as a fan going to this game, it was an exciting one, but a lot of turnovers in this game, and we're going to start it off with the Dolphins. The Dolphins themselves, they played very well in this game. They start with a touchdown right away. They go up 7-0 early. Jalen Waddle did a lot of work getting all the way down the field for them. The Rams, then they go 3 and out. They have to punt. The Dolphins, then they punt it right back. Rams punt again. A lot of punting in this first quarter. The Dolphins, they punt yet again, and then the Stafford, he throws an interception. We usually don't see that from him. He's pretty good not turning the ball over, but he did in this game. He threw that interception early. Then then the Rams, they do get a pick and have great field position right after the first quarter. And then Kyron, he fumbles, giving the ball right back. And so really this is just not a good game. The Dolphins, they do get a field goal during that second quarter. It's 10-0. The Rams, they finally get a field goal later in the quarter. It's 3-10. And thankfully the Rams, they bring it back a little bit right before halftime, and it's 6-10. They get another field goal, but just not able to score touchdowns like they'd normally been able to do. The Rams then have to settle for another field goal, but they missed this one. And being at this game, it was an easy field goal. He hit it the first time. There was a penalty, sent him back 5 yards, and he missed the second one. So really just a disadvantage for the Rams. They've been struggling having all these penalties against them. The Dolphins, they take advantage off of that. They get a touchdown. It goes up 17-6. That's the end of the third quarter. Rams then get a field goal to make it a one-score game. It's 9-17, so 8 points. Then the Dolphins get a field goal to extend the lead again. It's 20-9. Rams get another field goal. It's 12-20. Dolphins get a field goal again to go up a little bit in the fourth quarter. It's 23-12. And then the Rams, they get a field goal right at the end of the game, but there's only 40 seconds left. So really just no touchdowns in this game. Pretty boring. And I'm going to be honest, being at the game, loved going on the field, but really, everything else was a snooze fest. I'll just say that. And so we're going to have 3 takeaways for this team, for the Rams. Puka, he really makes this offense explosive. He is the person that they need to be targeting. He's just a great player, and he needs to be able to be targeted more in games. Number 2 takeaway, the turnovers were back and forth between the teams, but the Rams, they were not able to control it. Really, it was the Dolphins who were able to, and the Rams were not able to, and that was why they weren't able to score touchdowns. Number 3 takeaway, this is a Dolphins takeaway. The Dolphins may be back on track. Tua is helping them just get back in rhythm. They're doing well. Tyreek Hill, we thought that he might have gone into surgery, but instead he's not. He's back with this team, so it looks like the Dolphins are back. That's the end of our Rams recap. Very fun game to go to. If you go to the SoFi Stadium, very, very cool stadium, go to that. Awesome to go to. We're going to go right into the Chargers now. And for the Chargers, they were playing the Titans this week, and so it was a good game. I mean, another game at SoFi. We were planning to go, but I was still a little bit sick on that weekend. We were thinking about going to this game, but the Chargers, they showed out in this one and showed why Jim Harbaugh is really doing the job. And the Titans, they're the same old Titans. So the Chargers, they settle with a field goal in the red zone. It's 3-0. Then Levis, he finds Ridley on a deep pass and gets a touchdown early. It's 7-3. So really, it looks like this game was on the side of the Titans for a little bit. The Chargers, they're forced to punt. Titans punt. That's the end of the first quarter. Then the Chargers, they settle for a field goal to bring it closer. It's 6-7. Titans then miss a field goal and turn the ball over. Then Herbert, he finds the end zone off a design QB run. This is one of those ones I was watching just later in the week of Jim Harbaugh. He told Justin Herbert, hey, you're going to run this football. And I think that's a big thing with this team. They want to run the ball more. Then Herbert, he then fumbles after the Titans have to punt, and the Titans return it for a touchdown, but it's overturned, thankfully. If you watch this game, it looked like it was a fumble, but it really may be the tuck rule, but okay. We'll move on from that. It doesn't count on that. Then it's halftime. The Titans then start with a field goal after half, make it a little bit closer. It's 10-13. Then Quentin Johnson, he gets a touchdown. It's 20-10. That's the end of the third quarter. Then the Chargers score another touchdown right after the third, go up 27-10. Titans get a late touchdown. Calvin Ridley, another touchdown for him. It's 17-27. Chargers recovered the onside kick, and that is it. And going into some takeaways for this team, Gus Edwards, he's back. He's firing, and he has a major impact on this run-based team. And he's averaging 5.5 yards per carry in this game, and it helped immensely on the offense. Number 2 takeaway, the defense looks strong. Will be one of the reasons this team has a shot in the playoffs. I think that they'll do well. They really stuff the Titans in this game. And the number 3 takeaway, the pass game has become more dim. We know that Justin Herbert, he has an arm, he's strong, but it's more dim under Harbaugh. He wants to run the football, and Herbert, he only threw 18 times, and they ran the ball 25 times. And even Herbert ran a few times during some design pass plays. So that's the end of our Chargers recap. We're going to get right into a few Raiders news facts.
Raider Nation, stand up!
Now, the Raiders, they were on a bye week this week. They're 2-7 still. We know that they really needed this bye week, but there's a few different news that I wanted to go over. And so the first one comes from CBS Sports, and it says that several players, including team captain Max Crosby, we know that guy, he's firing, he's an amazing player. He spoke openly in a players and staff meeting Monday, addressing what they viewed as inefficiencies and deficiencies within the organization on a week-to-week basis. The hope for everyone involved is that the talks result in some positive change for the Raiders in the second half of the season. We'll see how that goes. Then the next one is that Antonio Pierce, he fired 3 offensive coaches on Sunday night after the Raiders' 41-24 loss to Cincinnati. Offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, offensive line coach James Craig, and quarterbacks coach Rick Scangalario. And they were all relieved of their duties after Sunday's game, so maybe that'll change something. We'll see if Antonio Pierce takes those duties on. And with this 2-7 start, the third bit of news is that the Raiders, it looks like the first overall pick pick may be in play. So who are the options? We're looking at, college football. We've been watching it this season. Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Garrett Nussmeier, and maybe if they get a later pick, maybe not the first overall pick, Ashton Genty, maybe one of those guys. I think this team really needs one of these fiery, just good offensive players, or maybe going for someone different. I know Travis Hunter, he's a two-way player, so maybe going for that. We'll see. But the Raiders, hopefully something different in the second half of the season. But as we see, Max Crosby not happy with it, Antonio Pierce not happy with it. We'll see what happens after that. We're going to get right into the 49ers recap now.
Droopy on the beat. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Now, for the 49ers, this is one of those games against the Buccaneers that was not pretty. Not pretty at all. They really need to step up their game in general. So we're going to start off with the 49ers as they have to punt on their first drive. A fabulous tackle by Fred Warner after that on defense stuffs the Buccaneers on third down, and the Bucs have to punt. Then Ricky Pearsall, he gets his first touchdown of his career. We know he got shot earlier in the year, and he's back firing on all cylinders and gets a touchdown. With a lot of yak, it's 7-0. 49ers then get a sack, forcing the Bucs to punt. That's the end of the first quarter. 49ers then have a great drive, but they have to settle for a field goal, and Jake Moody makes that one. It's 10-0. Bucs then settle for a field goal on their drive. It's 3-10. 49ers try a field goal but miss and give the Bucs the ball back with 30 seconds and 3 timeouts, but it ends up the Bucs have to settle for a punt after a drop from Cade Otton, and that ends the first half. So it's 10-3. The 49ers are up, having a good first half. The Bucs then punt on their opening drive, but the Niners, they muff it on special teams, and they get the ball right back. The Buccaneers, they score a touchdown from Rachaad White, tie the game at 10. Then Moody, he hits a field goal, take the lead 13-10. It's the end of the third quarter. Then Irving finds a hole and finds the end zone. It's 17-13. The Buccaneers are up. The 49ers then try another field goal, and it is wide left. Jake Moody misses that one. 49ers then force a 3-and-out, and the Bucs have to punt. Purdy then finds Kittle in the back right of the end zone to take the lead 20-17. Great sack from Bosa, forces another 3-and-out, and the 49ers take over. 49ers then try yet another field goal and miss it again. They miss another field goal. The Bucs then go for it on 4th down and 7. Baker gets held and still makes a perfect pass. If you watch this play, it was absolutely ridiculous. Nick Bosa was holding onto Baker's arm, and he still makes a perfect pass. And so they get down and they get a field goal, and the 49ers do get a game-winning field goal to win the game 23-20. But the takeaways, I got to say, Jake Moody needs to figure it out. Multiple kicks missed, and the special teams unit is killing this team. They're killing everything in this team. We saw a muff punt early in the game, scored a touchdown for the Buccaneers. It's not okay. But the number 2 takeaway is good. McCaffrey, he makes this team so diverse and structured as an offensive unit. Came back, played well, and even with limited snaps, the offense looked more structured, just looked better. Number 3 takeaway, the 49ers defense will always be their strong suit. Really the reason they win these games. We saw Fred Warner multiple times in this game really make a difference. And so that's the end of our NFL recap. All the different teams, we went through some takeaways on what these teams should do. Next, we're going to go into our college football recap. We're going to go into USC, UCLA. USC did not have a game, but UCLA did. We want to go through some takeaways, some news from both those games. We're going to listen to Winner by Afterthought. You're listening to 88.5 HD2, Catching Up with Carter, here with Carter Kirchhevel, your host. Thank you for listening. Make sure to keep checking in as we'll go over college football, and we have a brand new segment at the end of the show for you all. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter. You were just listening to Winner by Afterthought, one of my favorite songs. We're going to get right into our college football recap. As I said, USC, they did not have a game this week, but we're going to go through a ton of news for the USC Trojans. And for this coming week, the USC Trojans are playing against Nebraska, and there was some news that came out that Lincoln Riley is benching Miller Moss for Jordan Malava. It looks like Moss may be looking to hit the transfer portal after this season. I really like Moss. I really like his just type of play. He really plays the type of football that I like. When I was watching him, he makes the right throw, he makes the right decision, but Lincoln Riley making a decision, they're 4-5 on this season, so it makes sense. But I do like Miller Moss. I'd be sad if he left the Trojans, and although this benching is happening, the Trojans, they're favored by 8.5 points against Nebraska. So we'll see. Is USC going to bounce back with Jordan at the helm? I like Miller. This is the decision. I'm not the coach. I'm just a person talking about it. So Miller Moss, he is benched. Another piece of news, the president of USC, she plans to retire. On Friday, USC President Carol Folt announced that she would retire at the end of the academic year, which is in the summer of 2025. Folt received a lot of apologies and goodwill from USC fans after the Riley hire. Until then, a lot of USC fans and alumni reasonably thought she didn't care about the sport, given that Clay Helton stayed on the job for too long. Then Lincoln Riley, he knows that the next USC president will step into a situation where Riley will be coaching under intense pressure, and this season it's a bust. So for this year, they're 4-5. The 2025 season needs to deliver the goods. It always did need to become a strong statement about the health of USC football. Riley was always going to need a big 2025 at USC, and now with the new president coming into the door, we will see. In 2026, he'll still be hired. There's still the news that that really his buyout is huge. So he's going to still be the coach. I still don't like this decision of Miller Moss. But as I said, I'm not the coach. It's his decision. Jordan Malava, hope he does well. I hope that they do a very good job, but we will see what happens. It is all going to come down to coaching and the decision. We'll see if Riley is even still the head coach in 2026. Those are the few pieces of news I wanted to share about USC. Hopefully they get a win against Nebraska. They had a bye week, as I said, and we're going to go right into UCLA, who did have a game against the Hawkeyes. And UCLA, they have really bounced back this season. They are now 4-5 after they did get a win over the Hawkeyes. They won 20-17. We're going to go through a quick game recap. Garbers starts with an interception, turning the ball over to the Hawkeyes. So Garbers looked like the same old Garbers, but he really turned it around in this game. Iowa then scores a touchdown at 7-0. Garbers gets in the red zone, gets hit, and throws an interception yet again, turning the ball over. So he has 2 interceptions early in this game. Iowa then, they do get a field goal, but they have to settle for it. Instead of the first quarter, it's 10-0. So really not on the Bruins side at all. In UCLA, they hit a field goal to get their first points of the game. It's 3-10. Then Iowa turns the ball over, throws an interception, just like Garbers was doing all game. Then UCLA, they throw a touchdown. So Garbers showing why he should be this QB for this team, tie the game at 10. Iowa then fumbles, turns the ball over. UCLA fumbles it right back. Just a crazy turn of events. Iowa then has to punt. UCLA scores a touchdown to respond, goes up 17-10, and that's halftime. So they're up at halftime. Then the second just half in general really didn't have anything going on until UCLA, they hit a game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter. They win 20-17. And that's it. So Iowa, they had one more drive, but they had to punt, and that's the end of the game. So UCLA, they're bouncing back. They win 20-17. They're 4-5 on the year. Doing a great job at the helm is my man Arian Foster, doing a great job. And so going through some takeaways for this game. Number one takeaway, the Bruins defense came up big again in this game, allowing UCLA to win its 3rd straight game of the season, doing a great job for them. Number two takeaway, the Bruins rushing attack arguably was the most efficient it has been all season in this game. And it helped UCLA win. TJ Harden had 125 yards of rushing on 20 carries. Absolutely crushing it in this game. And number three takeaway, UCLA dominated the second quarter, as we were talking about earlier, and they were being shut out 10-0, and that's why they won this game. Second quarter, they absolutely crushed it, and that's the reason they won against the Hawkeyes. That's the end of our college football recap, looking at some different college football news, the college football playoffs is coming up. We know it's a 12-man playoff. There's new rankings every single week, so we will recap that. But we are going to go into Saddleback football before we go into anything else. The Saddleback College football team, they went to Fullerton this week. They won 33-31 on Saturday afternoon at Fullerton, and it brings the team to 6-3 on the season. So it was the first win against the Hornets since 2016. Saddleback into the game looking to end a 5-game losing streak against Fullerton. The last time Saddleback defeated the Hornets was in 2016 with Nick Robinson. He had DeAndre Moore for a 16-yard touchdown with 38 seconds left to remaining for a 30-27 win. Same kind of close game as we had in 2016, but now it's 2024, 8 years later, gets a win. Saturday's game had a little different feeling as Saddleback led for most of the contest, while it was Fullerton trying to make a heroic comeback. The Bobcats were having nothing to do with it, getting a turnover in the final minutes with Joseph Chavez stepping in front of a Fullerton pass and intercepting it to end the comeback bid. So, Saddleback, they get the win. They're 6-3. They're better than both of the college teams we've been talking about. As we know, 4-5 for both of those teams. 6-3 for Saddleback football. So Saddleback having a great year so far. That is the end of our college football recap. We're going to listen to a quick song, Demise by Cafune, and we're going to get into a new segment. We're going to do Throwback Thursday, fantasy football players to start and to avoid, and we're going to go into some rumors around the NFL. Thank you so much for checking in here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2, Catching Up with Carter. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2. You just listened to Take Me to the Sun by David and Demise by Cafune. Two great songs. Thank you so much for checking in here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. As we get into our third segment of the day, it's brand new. We used to do predictions every single week. Kind of got a little stale in the sense that I'm not very good at predicting much. So we are going to go through Throwback Thursday, fantasy football players to start and avoid, and we're also going to go through rumors around the league. So we're going to start off with Throwback Thursday, and we're going to go into a Week 11 Thursday night football game, which was on November 15th, 2018. It is November 14th, so one day off, and when the Seattle Seahawks face the Green Bay Packers. This matchup is legendary, absolutely legendary. We've seen it multiple times. And in this game, it was a nail-biting showdown. Saw the Seahawks make a comeback in the final minutes with Russell Wilson. As we know, Russell Wilson is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, and we got Russell Wilson on the Seattle Seahawks. Brings back some memories. Connects with Ed Dixon for a touchdown. Secured a 27-24 victory. This game was a classic example of Wilson's late-game heroics and helped Seattle stay competitive in the playoff race during that season. And the Rodgers versus Wilson matchup was one for the ages. This matchup also occurred in the playoffs when the Seahawks upset the Packers in 2015. Remember that game? I remember myself. I was in Arizona for this game. I remember when the Arizona Cardinals, they went to the playoffs as well during that season. I remember sitting in my room, no joke, playing Clash of Clans on my iPad, watching it on TV happen. An insane game, onside kick recovered by Seattle, winning it in the final seconds in overtime. Just a ridiculous game to watch. So that's just a legendary matchup. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of a snippet back to the past in Throwback Thursday. Brings me back to the past. We're going to get right into fantasy football players to start and avoid, starting with Thursday night football. Got one of the best Thursday night footballs of the year tonight. It's Commanders versus Eagles at 5:15, and I'm going to say start Jalen Hurts. The Commanders have allowed a lot of points this season. Jalen Hurts is starting to get into a role. He's doing very well. It's probably going to be a high-scoring game, and I would sit Brian Robinson of the Commanders. It's a tough Eagles defensive line, and not a lot of points on the ground have happened against the Eagles, and the Eagles have been doing the opposite. They've been using Saquon Barkley. They've been using Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is a great start. Brian Robinson, I'd sit him. Going into our Sunday games, we're going to start with 10 a.m. Green Bay Packers at Chicago Bears, another legendary matchup between these two teams. And I would start Josh Jacobs. The defense has been a struggle for the Bears this season and on the interior mainly. So Josh Jacobs is going to do a great job, be able to run the ball. And for sit, I, no joke, wrote down everyone on the Bears. I would not start anybody. Caleb Williams has been struggling. They just fired their offensive coordinator. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the rumors portion. And really, I just wouldn't start anybody. I have Keenan Allen on my fantasy roster. I'm not even going to touch him this week. I'm not even going to put him close to a lineup. I cannot start him this week. Cleveland Browns versus the New Orleans Saints is our next game, and I'd start Valdez-Scantling or Kamara. This Browns defense has struggled, and Valdez-Scantling did very well last week, getting 20 points in fantasy, and Kamara is always a good start, so those two people. And for the sit, Chubb, he has been struggling, and the Saints defense is not the one he will do well against. I have Nick Chubb on my fantasy roster as a just a pickup that I got in the late rounds of the draft, and I'm not going to start him this week. I have Ramondre Stevenson, and I'm putting him in over Nick Chubb this week. Next game is Minnesota Vikings at Tennessee Titans, and I'd start the Vikings defense if he's available. Not if he's available, but if they are available in your league. Titans have struggled offensively and turnover-wise. And this week, I would sit Calvin Ridley. I know he went off against the Chargers last week, but that's why I feel like he's overvalued. I don't think he's going to have the same production. It's a tough defensive team. The Vikings are going to do a great job being able to cover him. And so Byron Murphy's going to be covering him all game. So I would not start him this week. Moving to the next, the Jaguars versus the Detroit Lions. We're talking about Calvin Ridley's old team, the Jaguars. And for the start, I'd start Jameson Williams this week. I have him in my flex. I think he's going to be a great flex option against a weak secondary of the Jaguars. They did lock down last week. They locked down Justin Jefferson, but they really locked him down because I'm going to be honest, Sam Darnold did not play well, so that's why I'd say start him this week. I think he'll do well, and sit Etienne. The Lions' defense has been dominant, and so Etienne is not going to do well in this offense, and so Jaguars, they are just going to hope to squeak by with maybe not getting shut out. That's all I'm going to say for this game. Next is Raiders at Miami Dolphins. I'm going to start Bowers. I think he's going to do very well this week. Bowers, as the Dolphins have struggled against receiving rooms this season, they really didn't struggle that much against Puka and Cooper Kupp, but really the turnover battle was the big key in that game. And for myself, I would start the Rams defense. Or sorry, this is a different game. Sorry, Tua. I'd sit Tua. As the offensive line struggled against the Rams on Monday, I'd sit Tua. I don't think that there will be anything stopping Max Crosby from hitting Tua on Sunday, so I'd say sit Tua. Going into the Rams, we've already covered the Rams a little bit. We're going to go through some start and sit. As I said, Rams defense against the Patriots, I think will be a great pickup. They've struggled offensively, and Drake May, I would sit Drake May this week. I don't think he's going to do well against this Rams secondary. Tua was struggling against him. Drake May is going to struggle just the same. Next is Baltimore Ravens at Pittsburgh Steelers. Pickens, I think he's going to do very well. He's been going off, and this could be a very high-scoring game. I'd sit Zay Flowers. The Commanders' receiving core was in shambles last week against the Steelers. I don't think Zay Flowers is going to do any better. Next is Colts-Jets. Jonathan Taylor, start him this week. The run game will be back with Richardson back. They're going to run the ball more in this game. And sit Devontae Adams. He hasn't done much with this new squad. I would not play him this week. Going to the 1 p.m. games, Seahawks at 49ers, a legendary matchup. I love this matchup. My friend's a big Seattle fan. I wish that we could go to this game, but we are not this week. And I'd start Ricky Pearsall. He scored his first touchdown last week. Looks explosive as the wide receiver too. I'd sit K9. I'd sit Kenneth Walker. I don't think he's going to do very well. And the defense for the Niners, they're deadly against the run. So I would sit Kenneth Walker. I'm going to play him. I'm going to see what happens. Even as a Niners fan, I'm going to play him. We'll see what happens. But I'd say if you can, sit him. Don't play him this week. Next is Falcons at Denver Broncos. Cortland Sutton, I'm starting him this week. He should be able to go off against this Falcons secondary, and sit Drake London. Surtain's on the other side. The best corner in football. That is my humble opinion. Surtain's the best corner in football, and Drake London's not going to do much against that. Going into the 125 game, Kansas City Chiefs at Buffalo Bills, I'd start DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to be the wide receiver one for the rest of the season on this offense. Should be dominant against the Bills secondary. And sit James Cook. Chiefs defensive line line has been super strong this season. Going into Sunday Night Football, the Bengals at Los Angeles Chargers. My roommate is going to this game. Go Chargers, bolt up. But I'm going to say start Justin Herbert. He's been on a roll in the past few games. He'll be throwing a lot in this one, in my opinion. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to try to stuff the run. They've been able to run the ball a lot this season, the Chargers. So the Bengals are going to try to stop that. And I'd sit either defense. This should be a shootout. So if you have the Chargers defense, the Bengals defense, do not play them this week. Find someone else. Going into Monday night, our last game, Texans at Dallas Cowboys. Start Nico Collins, as he is now back off IR and should be in the rotation. He should be going off in this one. Cowboys have been struggling, and I said sit anybody on the Cowboys. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones need to figure it out. As we're going to get right into our rumors around the league, we'll start with the Cowboys. They've been struggling, and Jerry Jones, he does not want to stop the bleeding. Despite the Dallas Cowboys suffering a 34-6 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday, team owner Jerry Jones isn't considering a coaching change. Jones told reporters after the game that he has no interest in firing head coach Mike McCarthy via John Mokata of The Athletic. So it really doesn't look like anything's going to happen. Dak now is out for the season. Cooper Rush is the starting quarterback. So nothing really is going to happen. I'd say put up the shades. I know that's a joke because the stadium it has that sun going through it. And, I'd say put up the shades. That's what I would say. I mean, CeeDee Lamb said it himself. So put up the shades, Jerry Jones. Please do it for the sake of your team. Going into our next rumor, Bears and the QB and their team issues. And following the 4-5 Chicago Bears 19-3 loss to the 3-7 New England Patriots on Sunday, Bears head coach Matt Eberflus said the team is looking at everything, and they did. They just fired their offensive coordinator, and really, this is not good. I'm really sad for Caleb Williams. I thought this season would be different. Thought the Bears would be different. It's not. The Bears are the exact same Bears as they have been all year. They need to figure it out, and I would say looking at a different quarterback, maybe letting Caleb sit for a little bit might be the best option. Offensive line did not look good at all for the Bears. So that's the end of the Bears kind of just talk, because I can't really talk about it much more. I'm sad about Caleb Williams, and he deserves better. Going into our last rumor around the league, Dable for the New York Giants is finally looking into other options to lead the team. New York Giants head coach Brian Dable didn't commit to Daniel Jones as the team's starting quarterback moving forward. When asked about the position by reporters on Sunday, he says, "I'd say we got a lot of work to do here in the next few days, in the next week, and we'll evaluate where we're at and what we need to do." Dable said per ESPN's Jordan Raanan. The Giants fell to the Carolina Panthers by the final score of 20-17 on Sunday, and that is their fifth straight loss. And Jones finished 22 of 37 for 190 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he also recorded 26 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He did run the ball. As we know, he can run, but he can't pass. He can't pass. He's not the person to lead this team. I think Dable's doing the right thing. Bring in Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito. That's what is it? Sorry, it's not Danny DeVito. That's an actor. Tommy DeVito. My apologies, Tommy DeVito. Bring him in. Maybe he'll be a great quarterback option. We knew from last year he played pretty fun football as we watched. And that's the end of our third segment here on Catching Up with Carter. Hope you enjoyed that Throwback Thursday, start and sit for fantasy football, and our third little portion about rumors around the league. Remember, it's not Danny DeVito, it's Tommy DeVito. But that's the end of our third segment. We got Softcore by The Neighborhood, and then we're going to close out and have 2 extra songs after that here on Catching Up with Carter on 88.5 HD2. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. College radio lovers unite. Our new Discord server is your all-access pass to request songs, chat with DJs, and connect with the local community. Every Saddleback radio show has a home there, and so do you. Visit jazz885.org and click on the Discord link to join. Make sure to check out that Discord because for myself, I have all of the different portions of my show there. You can check out any old shows on my YouTube channel. It's all linked on Discord. We have all of the shows there. We also have different sports broadcasts there. I have water polo broadcasts and football broadcasts all on that YouTube channel. Make sure to check that that out. Thank you so much for checking in here live on Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. And next week, we're going to go through, again, all of our different recaps of NFL, college football, and, of course, Saddleback College football. They have their last home game this weekend, and so make sure to check that out. Chad Dowdy, he'll be on the call over there, and it'll be very exciting. Thank you so much again for checking in. We've got two more songs. We've got Hindsight by Josh Marriott and NC. Josh is actually a lifelong friend of mine, very, very good friend of mine, and I wanted to play one of his songs for you all, and I Still Believe by Lecrae and For King and Country. Both those songs coming to you, and make sure to also stick around. 11 to 1 o'clock, we got Francis Starr on live. Do I Sound Like Your Dad? Great show there, very fun. I listen to it after this show all the time. Very, very fun there. Thank you so much. I know it was a little bit shorter of a show today, but thank you so much for checking in. Thank you again. You're listening to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio.